It happened on a Wednesday morning, the kind of morning where the school hallways were half awake and half annoyed. Lockers slammed, footsteps echoed, and laughter bounced off the walls. Nobody knew that by noon the school would be surrounded by 40 roaring motorcycles, the kind of sound that made windows vibrate. Nobody knew that one cruel decision from one arrogant bully would trigger something that the entire town would never forget. Her name was Emily Hart, the quiet girl with a soft face, tied back hair, and a brace on her left leg that helped her walk. She never asked for attention. She moved slowly, carefully, trying her best not to be a problem for anyone. But in schools like this one, kids like her became targets, whether they wanted to be or not. Emily had only been at Ridgewood High for 3 days. 3 days of side glances, giggles behind her back, whispered guesses about why she walked differently. Most students kept their distance, but one student, Dylan Price, the self-proclaimed king of the hallway, didn't just keep his distance. He made sure everyone around him knew she didn't belong. Dylan wore his blue Ondilo varsity jacket like royal armor, shoulders rolled back, chin high, smug grin plastered across his face. His friends followed 2 steps behind him, laughing at every word he said. He liked to control the halls. He liked the feeling of power when people stepped out of his way. And today, he picked Emily as the next victim of his routine cruelty. It began when Emily dropped her books. The hallway froze for a moment. Dylan looked at the books, then at her brace, and then at his friends, with that smirk that meant trouble. He walked over slowly, like a wolf circling a lamb. Emily tried to gather her things quickly with trembling hands, but she couldn't move fast enough. "Well, look at this," Dylan said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. The new girls already slowing down traffic. A few kids laughed. Emily swallowed hard, whispering, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You never mean to." Dylan cut her off, nudging one of the books with his shoe. "Maybe you should stay home if you can't keep up." More laughter. Emily kept her eyes down. She knew arguing would make it worse. When she tried to stand, Dylan stepped directly in front of her. "Where you going, limp? You think you can just walk around here like you're normal?" His friends snickered. And then, out of nowhere, Dylan lifted his leg and kicked the side of Emily's brace. Not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make her fall sideways against the locker. The sound echoed. A few students gasped. Some looked away. Nobody stepped forward. Emily whispered, "Please, stop, or what?" Dylan taunted. "You gonna hobble after me?" She didn't cry. Her eyes didn't even water. She just shook her head and stared at the ground, embarrassed in a way no words could describe. Dylan didn't know. Nobody knew that Emily had someone looking out for her, someone who didn't take bullying lightly, someone whose reputation traveled through cities like wildfire. Emily's older brother, Jake Ingerjaw Hart, a biker whose club was known across the entire state. Not criminals, protectors, a brotherhood of veterans, mechanics, and community defenders. And Jake had given Emily one rule when she started at the new school. "If anyone hurts you, send me one word, just one." Emily steadied herself against the locker, reached for her phone, and typed that one word. "Treehouse," the code only her brother understood. Miles away, Jake's phone buzzed. His eyes scanned the message once. His jaw clenched. Without a second thought, he grabbed his helmet and stepped outside, into the roar of dozens of bikes starting up. His club brothers looked at him instantly. "Trouble?" "One," asked Emily, Jake said. The school, that was all they needed. Back in the hallway, Dylan wasn't done. He kicked Emily's backpack aside and leaned closer. "You gonna tell a teacher? Go ahead. They can't protect you." But Emily wasn't thinking about teachers anymore. She wasn't thinking about Dylan's insults. She wasn't even thinking about falling. She was thinking about the approaching thunder, the one Dylan couldn't hear yet, because at that exact moment, on the highway outside Ridgewood High, 40 motorcycles were lined up in a formation that shook the ground. Drivers in leather jackets, patches with eagle wings, engines rumbling like an approaching storm. Inside the school, students had begun whispering. A strange vibration trembled through the floor. Lockers rattled slightly. Teachers peeked into the hallway, confused. Dylan paused, frowning. What the heck is that noise? Emily met his eyes for the first time. Calm, unshaken. My ride, she said quietly. Dylan froze. What? And then the doors at the front of the school burst open so loudly, the principal dropped his coffee. The parking lot filled with smoke, gravel, and the thunder of engines shutting off all at once. The entire biker club stepped off their bikes in perfect sync. A wall of boots, a wall of leather, a wall of men whose presence alone demanded silence. In the center of them stood Jake Hart, helmet under his arm, beard trimmed, eyes sharp enough to cut steel. Inside the hallway, kids swarmed windows. Phones came out instantly. Oh my God, who are they? Is that an army? No, I think they're here for someone. Emily didn't move as Jake walked through the doors, the principal jogging nervously behind him, trying to demand identification that Jake ignored completely. The bikers formed a V behind him as he stepped into the hallway, eyes scanning every student, every locker, every shadow. Emily, he called. She stepped forward slightly so he could see her. Jake's face softened. You okay, kid? Emily nodded. Yeah, now. Then Jake looked at Dylan. The hallway went dead silent. Dylan swallowed hard. His fake confidence melted instantly as Jake walked toward him, boots thudding against the tile floor like a countdown. Dylan's friends backed away, wanting no part of what was coming. Jake stopped just inches from him. You kicked my sister. Dylan tried to deny it, but the hallway was filled with witnesses, phones, whispers, fear. Jake didn't touch him, didn't shout. He simply leaned closer and said in a steady, terrifying voice, a kick can be forgiven, but cowardice, picking on someone who already has to fight harder than you ever will, that's something you're gonna answer for. Dylan shivered. I'm sorry. I didn't mean you meant it, Jake interrupted, but you won't mean it again. Jake looked over his shoulder. Brothers. The tallest biker stepped forward. What's the call? Jake pointed at Dylan. Escort him to the principal's office. Make sure he understands the meaning of respect. No touching, Emily added softly. Jake smiled. Of course, gentlemen. Escort only. The bikers surrounded Dylan, not hurting him, just towering over him until he shook so badly he could barely walk. They marched him down the hallway, while everyone watched. Students didn't laugh. They didn't record. They simply stared in awe. Emily picked up her books. Jake took her backpack and slung it over his shoulder. You sure you're okay? She nodded. I just didn't want him to do it to anyone else. Jake placed a hand on her shoulder. You won't. From the principal's office came a yell, Dylan's panicked voice, explaining the whole story. The principal demanding answers, teachers piling in to understand what had happened. By the end of the day, Dylan was suspended, his athletic privileges revoked, and his parents summoned immediately. Emily, however, left school, not alone, not scared, but riding on the back of her brother's motorcycle, surrounded by the greatest escort a girl could have. And the next morning, when Emily walked into the hallway, nobody stared at her brace, nobody whispered, nobody laughed. Students stepped aside, respectfully, some even smiling at her softly. Dylan avoided her completely, and from that day forward, everyone at Ridgewood High learned two important things. Never judge someone by their appearance, and never, ever mess with a girl who has a biker brother that would cross a city for her, because heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they ride Harley Davidson.